Welcome back to Cuyahoga Sound Podcast. I'm Evan Stone.
I'm Chuck Schilling.
Today we have the musical duo Regas-McDonald.
Thanks for having us.
Okay, thank you guys.
So how'd you come up with that name?
My grandfather, when he came to the U.S. from Greece, changed his name from Regopolis. That's the first step in this whole process.
Yeah.
Regas. And, his last name's McDonald. We didn't overthink it.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
Did your name get changed?
You know, as far as I know, no. I think we're just a bunch of Irish hillbillies. So we've had that name for a while.
Do you know Ronald?
You know, I can't disclose that. It's a bit of a divisive issue in the family.
I understand. That's like some top secrets.
He's cut a lot of people off, and we're not too thrilled about it.
It's like Gallagher and his brother.
Ever since he started hanging with that Mayor McCheese, he just hasn't been the same. Totally different person.
Speaking of which, have you guys seen Mac Sabbath before?
I haven't.
I've
They
never
came to
seen
Beachland
Yeah.
like a couple of years ago, and I really wanted to.
Mac Sabbath?
Mac
They come
Sabbath.
every few years to the Beachlands there.
Yeah.
A Black Sabbath band.
Cover band, but they dressed up as the McDonald character.
I think
that's
they
pretty
mess
fun.
with the lyrics.
Yes,
Yeah.
Iron Man is frying pan. I don't have any of the rest of them off the top of my head, but they're all like fast food related lyrics.
Oh, and they're dressed up like the mascots, right?
Yeah.
but with a metal twist.
Oh,
like
yeah.
Grimace has tusks like coming out.
Oh, yeah.
Well, that's like there's also Oakley Dokley. Are you familiar with that?
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah.
Where they're a Ned Flanders themed like
Metal
band. Yeah.
Oh, not like Christian-y too? Is that like part of the...
You know, it's definitely
Flanders-y?
like they go lyrically into his conscious.
Ah, nice.
And now we know everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we got way off. They're in a hurry.
Yeah, there's no topic here, really. Oh, wait, music, right? You guys are musicians.
Oh, yeah.
We are,
So,
to an extent, yeah.
how long have you two known each other? And has the music been since the beginning?
Well, we are cousins, so we've known each other approximately 28 years now. So
Yep. Darn near.
He had to check his watch to make sure.
Well,
Exactly.
Matt's
We got
got a
years
birthday
on it.
next month. Yeah.
my birthday's next month, so that will be 28 years of
Yeah.
music.
Yeah.
Potentially, you know, if we count screaming and crying.
Out of the womb. Yeah. No, we were in a band in high school and then into college for many years. The Big Suite. Then we had a college kind of
1 year we did our
screw off
junior
punk
year.
band.
Yeah.
Rockwell Family Dinner. We've played music together for even longer than that. So yeah, a good 20
Over a
years.
decade, yeah.
Yep, and then this project was, we were living in different cities. I was in Bloomington, Indiana for grad school, and doing more music than grad school on my own time. And yes, just started shooting Matt some ideas, some stuff a little wackier than I think that than we'd done in the past, and moved back to Cleveland a year ago. And we have only made it wackier.
Yeah.
Wackier since. So yeah.
Especially like while you were living in Bloomington, there's a couple times Sam would visit back in Ohio, and we'd find that time to record some ideas
Yeah.
you've had, and
Like lightning around recording. Yeah, but
yeah, I mean it was literally take the weekend off, see how much we can jam into this one section, and then try to make it into a song.
got a couple records out of it though. So yeah.
Nice. Cool.
So those were made on like weekend trips, or
By and large, and then they were the first records that we really self-produced, which I was very much learning on the fly, at least initially. So then, of course, in the months thereafter, we'd really dig into the weeds and get the wild and weird sounds a little fine-tuned and stuff. But yeah,
As far as like actually recording instruments, it was over weekends.
Yeah, the bulk, the skeleton, the project was definitely done in, 2-3 day flashes. Yeah, benders, work sessions,
I'm
whatever you wish to call
interested
it.
in the bands you used to be in, like kind of what led up to this very experimental sound.
Yeah, so
I would say, I mean, there's always been an element of experiment. I mean, we've always been like into indie music, and that was really like what the first two bands were. Was more in that vein, classic indie rock. But even like in the Big Sweet in high school, we do a lot of things where we start using like samples or weird sounds we create in studio and
Throw a piano backwards.
Like incorporate
we
that
invented it.
into the album, or then even like have a sample pad on stage that we could hit to kind of have that playing. So sort of like inklings were there, but at that point it was definitely more grounded in your typical Wilco, Pavement type
Like
of
guitar band music.
guitar band.
But yeah, I think this is probably, especially a lot of the stuff we made in our last record and have even written since then. Has kind of like used that as the starting point, like the starting with the texture and then almost, letting that lead the song rather than the other way around. I don't know if that makes sense, but
Yeah.
but yeah.
Wilco is one I was able to pull out of there. Like I think they kind of listen to it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah. No, Wilco was a huge band. Still is, but that was like the band. I think I was like 13 when we saw them for the first time. I saw them in Cleveland, and that was the first show I do kind of vividly remember. Like, oh yeah, like I don't really want to play like baseball anymore or whatever I was doing at the time. You know what I mean? Like I'm not that good at it anyway. I'm like I think I would like to do this at some level. You know what I mean? Yeah, that was one of those like Rubicon moment shows.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Have any specific Rubicon? I call them crystal moments, but Rubicon moments. Like from that show that like are always with you.
Yeah, I'll hear you guys big Wilco
No,
fans.
not really.
Okay.
But,
I didn't know how deep. So I remember they started with Impossible Germany, which rocked. The thing I remember specifically was John Doe was opening the show. If you're familiar with X at all, he was the singer in that band. But they were playing at the Lakewood like high school auditorium or something. It was such a weird show. I do not know why they were playing there. But I remember John Doe just stopped mid-song in one of the opening sections. He's like, "What the fuck are we doing here?" And like people started laughing. He's like, "I wasn't trying to be funny." And like that was kind of the thing I remember. And then Wilco just rocked it. I do remember that just as a generality. But yeah, it being in a high school auditorium was an odd detail.
Yeah. It's not a bad auditorium though. I've been in there for stuff. And
Yeah. Well, I want him to come back. I want any band. It's the only show I've seen there. So
no, I've
is it
played worse
called
stages.
the Lakewood Civic Auditorium?
that
Yeah.
sounds right. I mean, this was almost 15 years ago or something probably. So I kind of forget, but.
I know they've run a couple good shows through there in the past. I know Chris Cornell did his acoustic tour there in
really?
2010 or 11.
My high school didn't do anything like that.
Right.
I didn't
hell?
know it was a high school until you said that.
Well,
You
I-
said Lakewood Auditorium. That was the first one.
Yeah,
that came to my
in
head.
fairness, I could be misremembering. Maybe it is just a community civic auditorium, but I really think it was
It seems
attached
like
to
it's
the high
part
school.
of the high school.
I think it was.
The only other time I've been there was when my friends in high school were doing a bodybuilding competition.
That's what I was there for. Was a bodybuilding.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
That seems kind of like the antithesis of Wilco.
They have all their bases covered. Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah.
All right, both ends of the spectrum covered by Lakewood Civic Auditorium.
Exactly. Yeah, everything in between.
Cool.
So getting to the, how complex has your music been coming through? Has it gotten more complex as you're going along? Or was it, when you were like the guitar rock stuff, was it, just straight 4/4 and...
I mean, I feel like it's kind of weird. I mean, like, some of our early stuff, too, especially, like, I'm thinking, like, songs like Glitter Dies, or, like, it almost was, like, it was simple as far as, like, rhythm and everything goes, but there's, like, a lot of chords. I mean, that was sort of, like, a hallmark of a lot of your early writing, was a lot of...
Just not knowing which chords were supposed to go together. And just like, I'll just throw them all together.
Yeah. So, I mean, like, in that, so there was, like, complexity from the beginning, but I think it's definitely become more refined as we've gone on. I mean, it's definitely become less of a complexity for its own sake and more of, we have a weird idea, and the only way to really go about it is kind of in this complex way. If it's, like, changing up the time signature here, or like having really dissonant chords or whatever it be. But it's not so much as like trying to shove as much in as just like having an idea, and that's kind of the way you get to it.
Yeah, I mean, plus I feel like a lot of the stuff that we've been really into, especially in the last few years, or at least I feel like we kind of try to emulate or you know, whatever with the music, is often like very easy, at least just like structurally speaking, like, you know, like a lot of like Eno or Talking Heads, or like all that stuff that we just like, you know, really love. It's like a one chord a lot of the time. It's really about like the rhythm or like the drone or the you know, the hypnotic elements, and that way it's like kind of easier or like simpler. You know what I mean?
Like, it's like one of those things where if you like write it out as sheet music almost, or like one individual part of sheet music, any individual part would seem pretty easy, but like
because it's one note a lot of the time.
Exactly. Whereas it's more the kind of playing the complexity of when to take things out and when to put things back in, and it's almost like the absence and of addition of music is the instrument we're playing a lot of times, especially live.
I like that.
Yeah, that makes I like that too. Yeah.
Use that.
So when you're, it seems like it'd be tough to do this type of music as a, hey, let's get together on the weekend and record it. So like, are you guys bouncing ideas back and forth before these meetups are happening?
Absolutely,
okay.
yeah.
Constantly. It's very hard to play. I mean, like we you know,
even like jamming an idea is, I mean, I feel like the last couple new songs we've been recording, it's been mainly you've had a song idea and then building around it, or you'll send me like a demo and I can like send cuts back. But like actually like getting together, I mean, first of all, like there's kind of the weirdness of, you know, we're using MIDI instruments, we're using samples. So at any given point, there's not really a sense of what instrument we're going to pick up and approach the song with. You know, it's not like early days where we had a guitar and bass, and, you know, the structure of the song and like the way you're going to approach it is going to be more or less the same because you're limited by, you know, the mechanics of a guitar.
It's more like machine operation.
Exactly, where it's like, you know,
air traffic control room.
When you're dealing with when you're just dealing with keyboards, and you can add one note and just have that be its thing, and then play entire chords over it.
Meanwhile, trying to make the synths and keyboards not sound like synths.
Yeah,
like that's also, you know what I mean, like
that's sort of
the puzzle of it for a self-imposed puzzle. But
especially with like the samples, because I mean, are you both familiar with like Ableton or so like the sampler, like, and all those sort of digital samplers that they have, you know, obviously as it goes and gets warped through different notes, it's always going to have that sort of synthy digital sound, and sort of find the ways to round that out or like make it seem more natural and not just so obvious that we're, you know, just
like feathering those edges.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's sort of more where the complexity of this of our music right now.
Yeah, using a lot of non-instruments too, just like noise sounds, found sounds, like, you know, random percussions in the room, making that like its own like prominent part of the song. That's kind of the, like, to me that's like fun, you know what I mean? Like that's the fun challenge. But it is very different than, you know, drunkenly like playing replacements songs or whatever like we would do, you know what I mean? And old bands, which is also plenty fun, but it's a very different.
Yeah.
It's like a very different North Star.
I mean, I think part of the thing is, like, we're two guys. And so, like, on the one hand, if we were to just do the typical jam, like, and develop songs that way, right, we're limited by, we can only have, you know, one melody instrument or, like, one harmony instrument or one percussion. Like,
sure.
Whereas now we can expand that much, but we're also, like, it's a good thing we're only two, because there'd be no way to sort of, if we had more people, this approach of like coming with digital sounds and contributing would just be too many cooks.
Nah, we're too control freaky. There's more than two's a crowd. Yeah. But it's like the idea that if you like, you know, want to make something creative, you need like a box, like a limitation, and like that's the limitation. There's two guys, but we need to make it sound like a like a fucked up orchestra or like some strange, layered sort of project. And that's the challenge. But I think that's what kind of gives it. It's kind of what makes it though. So yeah.
It probably helps too when you're talking about like it's not all that you put in there, but it's taking the parts out. And if you have 5 people to put things in, you take their one part out, they're not going to be happy about it.
Yeah,
sure.
I mean, that's sort of the one thing is that or ego or just it's not even ego. People just musicians like to play, and so when we're not playing, it's not fun.
Well, there's too much too of we've got a lot of cello or horns in our last record or percussion certainly, but there's also 10-minute long stretches where there's just none of that. So I'm like it'd be odd to hire someone to play 4 times over a 40-minute span for 20 seconds at a time. I'm not splitting my paycheck with you.
I'm here to play the triangle.
$50. But yeah.
Cool. And that actually will take us to my next question. What is it like performing this music? How's that set up? It's hard, but it's really fun. It does feel very gratifying when we can really nail it, but it's definitely a lot of keeping a track of a lot of, in 3 seconds I'm going to hit this cue, in 8 seconds I'm going to have to hit the trigger that makes this piano an organ, and 8 seconds after I'm still singing this, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So there's lots of the multitasking and but the stuff that we've been able to either write, new stuff and then play has been really, I think, really a lot of fun. And a lot of the old stuff we've either had to rework or just kind of not be able to play entirely. Because a lot of those songs from, 3 years ago on our first record, we weren't really writing it with the idea that we could play it live. And now we're like, oh, we just, it's got 3 time changes and drums that drop in. I'm like, yeah, that's old hat. You can't do that. But yeah. You have to come see it.
I definitely hear a tale of 2 records. I'm listening to both records. So can you give us some insight on maybe mentally what changed between the 2, or maybe goal-wise, or did it have a lot to do with being able to perform it?
Well, so even the second one was we recorded during the pandemic, so it was still before we were performing, and a lot of the songs weren't tailored necessarily specifically to performance. The new ones that we're working on now are. But even between those 2 records, I think a lot of it was just kind of... The second record was a lot more focused, and we had a better idea of an entire record we wanted to have together and one continuous work.
And I will say the first one was, that was almost felt like a one-off project. I'm like, hey, I got these songs, Matt, let's do it. I think at that point we probably hadn't played together, in a, formal setting. And 4 or 5 years with original material and stuff like that. We were in different cities. And that one we really knocked out pretty quickly. Knocked it out in a couple sessions we were talking about. And, I did not know anything about production or, really recording it. But it's cool. I think it's scrappy, and it's still very much rooted in guitar music, which is always what we made, but definitely with a different spin. And I think the second one we were I think the pandemic hit and we were gonna do some shows, and I think we're like, well, shit, we can't play. Let's just write an even, I think what we thought was 10 times stranger
record.
There might be there's a little guitar in it, but we were really trying to pretty much try every trick we hadn't really tried prior.
And part of that was, the circumstance of the pandemic, being able to just record MIDI is a lot easier than having to record guitars and use it as a scratch to send back and forth. And then even when we were recording the full album directly tracks, we rented out Airbnbs or whatever. And even then, just the lugging of stuff and having your kind of recording studio be condensed into an easy portable 10-foot by 10-foot square that you can just have everything, all your keyboards, percussion stuff.
But
Did you do that close to home?
So we recorded the first time we got an Airbnb in Reynoldsburg.
It was like Frazeysburg.
Frazeysburg,
Ohio.
that's
it was
where,
in,
yeah.
It was in a Swedish.
I've never heard it. I've been in Ohio my whole life.
You might never hear it again.
Say that again. Frazeysburg.
It was literally like a hut that had weird, like Swedish.
It was owned by the
aesthetic.
Swedish couple that
Yeah.
also owned a horse ranch. So it was all a bunch of like.
Is it a big yurt?
It was.
Yeah, maybe.
It-
yeah.
Big, like,
It was-
round.
It
It
itself
was not.
was
It wasn't
not.
mesh. It was wood. It was like a wooden shack.
Okay.
No,
No-
Wi-Fi. No like we had.
Hot
one,
as shit.
We had like one thing of electricity. There's a porta potty. We had like our sink, and the thing was literally just like a giant 10-gallon bucket that had the little tap on it.
But no, it was kind of like a war of attrition
It was-
recording
yeah,
session. And I
I
think
think-
that was the first time too where we like, we weren't sleeping at all that week, and it was so hot, and we're just drinking
Oh, yeah,
the whole
it's
time,
like-
whatever, and like, but I do remember us like by the end we were like almost scoring a string part, which I don't think we'd ever really done before, but like that was becoming the almost like the task of the weekend. I remember when we played it back, I'm like, I think this record's gonna be really cool. Like this is like a lot different than anything we've done, and I think this is like the what'd you call it, crystal moment.
Crystal moments.
That was the
Yeah.
the Swedish hut crystal moment.
It's funny
Yeah.
going to a primitive type place to make music that, all through your computers using
Oh,
MIDI
yeah.
in Ableton, and then going to the outhouse outside. you
Yeah,
know?
it's like the duality of man. Full Metal Jacket. Yeah, whatever. Yeah.
And then
yeah.
we also got one in Dayton, which
Yeah.
that was a lot more of a
Suburban
traditional house. Which that was like it was just like a 2-story bedroom house that at that point seemed like a luxury hotel
By
compared
comparison to the
by
Swedish,
comparison, so.
the Swedish yurt.
I think we're even a little bit more productive on that second one, just having the benefit of modern utilities.
Yeah, but the spirit's not as fun. No. But no, it was so yeah. But then we did spend a good year, like probably a full solid year after that, really tinkering and really fine tuning and remixing, and we were working with our an old friend Wes McCraw, who is a great musician and a really great producer down in Norton. That
Runs
are
Creekside Audio.
Creekside Audio. I'll give him a plug. But he was mastering the record, and it was one of those where I would send him, a song. I'm like, all right, this is the finished version. I'm like, no, that's not the finished version. Okay, like, there's like probably one song I told him like 12 times. I'm like, no, I swear that this is the last time. Like, it became a little obsessive, a lot obsessive, honestly. But
I've been there.
Yeah.
but yeah,
Yeah,
Wes-
gotta
Wes
send
had
it
worked
with
with
just
us.
the reverb tweaked a little bit. No, this is the final version.
no, this is it. Yeah. So I think there was definitely a little more care, and I think, I just think the second record's better, just like flat out too. For like, I think our songs got a little better. I think the recording, I think the care involved was a little bit more,
I mean, I feel
a
like
little
the
more
first,
involved. So
The first one, we definitely like took a page out of like Guided by Voices and kind
Yeah.
of leaned into how lo-fi it was, and like didn't try to like if there was errors, left them on, didn't try to correct them, because like we tried to get that raw lo-fi sound. But the second one, we wanted to at least have the illusion of high
the
fidelity.
weirdness be high fidelity. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, and now we're working on some new songs, which we'll see what comes of that in the overall.
Yeah.
We're album guys, definitely through and through. So I feel like a song's not even a song until you got 8 songs around it.
Yeah.
It doesn't count for anything.
I felt
until
that
then.
flow, especially in the second one.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Cool. What's
was intense.
what's the songwriting process like for one of those like 14-minute songs off of your new one, or the and what was it called?
That one was
Well,
Impressions Part 2.
Impressions and Impressions and
The
Impressions
girls who
too.
found the Northern Lights. Or
Yeah.
Northern Lights.
The Northern Okay, so
Yep.
on my
Bro,
phone,
tried
on
to
my
find
phone
it.
when I'm like driving, it wouldn't it would
It would
like
just
stop.
open.
The girl that found the no what
never
the
know.
Northern
Yeah.
Lights, and
just
not
never
until
know.
like you say it in the song, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's
Girl
when
tried to find her Northern Lights.
that's when I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
that's what this song is.
I mean, that one in particular, I think was a weird mix of both of us having two songs, the first half of that, which is kind of like a weird kraut rock jam, and then the second part, which is a more like orchestral anthem, almost
Yeah.
Baroque poppy thing, and both of them not really having a counterpart as far as like verse or chorus that could go with them.
Just combine them, and then there's like really three parts of it. The last part was an add-on, in our Swedish yurt, with like a real old ragtimey kind of piano sound and like a melodica. Yeah. So long story short, I think a lot of that song and probably like the record in general was, we have these like disparate parts. Like we got these kind of like, really beats. I'm like, what if we threw like odd staggering pianos on that? And like, what if from there, like it went into like a noise burst? And what if, like really trying to like make a stew out of ingredients that like had no, justifiable reason for being there. I think that was very much like the aim.
I mean, it's kind of like, that was sort of the story, right, for the quick one, While She's Away by The Who, where Pete Townsend had a bunch of little song bits and didn't have any, like, counterparts for them or parts, and it was basically came with the idea of, we'll put them all together into one sort of opera. And I think that's sort of where a lot of that kind of theory, like, the music can go together as long as you can find ways to tie it together, rather it be lyrical theme. We like to also, like, kind of do little cues and, like, thematic variations so, like, if you listen to, like, The Girl Finds the Northern Lights, try to find her in the Northern Lights, you'll hear, like, bits that will reference back later and bring back in, and sort of, like, bring the songs together that way. Find new ways to tie them together that are improving upon like each section and like figure out where they work.
Yeah. That song we kind of like. It wasn't written like this, but when we were playing it back, we're like, it kind of the lyrics and just the vibe of it almost sounds like someone just progressively going insane. Like that. Like we're like it starts out kind of like you're like, oh yeah, like you're like almost like manically like that. It's like a really really split speed beat, and then it almost has this like whoosh of like.
Goes into halftime.
And then the end is like it's almost like you're deafening like white noise at the end with like this weird like vocal Matt does that sounds like he's like an old barbershop quartet. I'm like, I think I've lost my mind. Like I think that's like I don't know if it's a very mentally stabilizing song if you're on the fringes already, but if you really want to
give you that shove.
If you want to give the shove into the oblivion, I think that maybe you'll do it. I don't know.
Yeah, I think that's kind of as far as like our creative process too is also like that sort of like theatrical or like cinematic context is a part of Lisa. Like when we discuss, it's a good way of like trying to contextualize ideas to each other, and like. If we're not really sure how to achieve it, I think that's something we go to a lot. Is like, well, if what
does it feel like? Like what
does it feel like? What is? Yeah. If we're trying to like tell some sort of vague story musically, where can we go from here?
Yeah. Did that answer your question at all? I thought we really our response was meandering as that 14-minute song is.
I don't remember my question.
What's it like
the
to write
songwriting
song?
process.
Yeah.
You answered it.
Well, it takes a long time to write and explain a 14-minute song. Is I think the thesis, but yeah, we
Well, are you guys classically trained or
no
anything? It sounds like you got a pretty good grasp on like music theory rules and like where and when to break them.
As far as like theory, we both took guitar lessons as kids growing up, and like. I had like a little bit of like music theory in high school, but nothing super formal.
I think we know it enough to sense the the crude illiterate version of it.
We can talk about 1-4-5s and stuff like that.
But yeah, we definitely got very into.
What I'm saying is, it sounds like It sounds like you know how to get around it and like. Just totally ignore it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's the. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. I never heard anything like it. Like it's refreshing.
Thank you.
Yeah,
I really appreciate that.
So without the constraints of coming into the project as like I'm the guitar player, or I'm the bass player, do you find that the sound palette pushes the song forward and inspires the song, or the song inspires the palette that you're going to use for it?
Nice question.
I like that.
I think that's one that actually really, it kind of does vary song to song.
Yeah.
And I think especially with the new stuff we're recording, the sound palette informing the songs is becoming more prevalent because we're jamming and we're practicing for live performances, and so we have some sounds that we, for live or that we're experimenting with ready to go, and we can use those to kind of jam on ideas.
Mm-hmm.
So like there's some new songs that have come sort of directly out of these synths and samples we've built. But I mean, a lot of the songs original, like especially from the first few records, are I think more like ideas informing what sounds we use.
But yeah, I think we have sort of embraced this idea. Like I remember I heard a story about I think it was Kid A. I don't know if you guys are you Radiohead fans at all. So I forget the
That was
exactness
another influence I
of
heard.
the story. I actually am sort of ambivalent about Radiohead, but I do respect them, and I do really admire that record.
Kid A to present, like that.
Yeah.
There's definitely the stages of Radiohead.
The strange Radiohead, but yeah, they. I remember they told some story about that record where they were in the studio and they realized that they didn't have instruments in the sense of like job descriptions. There were 5, essentially instrumentless parties giving voice to an idea in the song, and had like the idea of that being extremely freeing. And I think that is very true, or at least something that we I think are doing in practice. Like, I don't think we go into any song being like, I'm going to do this part. I mean, generally I sing, and that's, other than that, that's about the only constant song to song in terms of instrumentation or job description or role.
Yeah,
or,
especially as far as like live performance goes, it's mainly like what can you do while singing, and then what can I do to fill in the rest.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Who's the piano player?
So both, yeah.
I mean, it's it's like one of those questions we don't answer well because people will sort of ask like, oh, like what do you play in the band? I'm like, whatever, whatever counts as an instrument, sort of a kind of thing. So in that way, I think it is sort of a quirky little middle ground between having a lot of, rock tropes in terms of still, liking these old concept records and pop melodies, but it does have a kind of electronic ethos in that way, where you're playing instruments, you're playing sounds from a guitar or a piano or what have you, but it's almost in a sort of uncanny valley. It's not like you're really the piano player, or you're really you're almost more like I don't even know what to call it, kind of like somewhere between a DJ and a player, I guess. But yeah, I like that.
So when doing this stuff live, you're talking about, I got this sample to trigger in 8 seconds and this in 3. What are you guys using for triggering? Is it keyboard? Is it sample pad? Or
So I have
Both.
a sample, both. So I have like a sample pad and keyboard. He's got a keyboard. So usually, like, as far as triggering, either like a lot of times what we'll do is like especially like have like all the samples running and just like raise the volume up and do like sort of live mixing.
And I have two. Yeah, I have a traditional 88 key keyboard, and then an MPK 261, I think, that I sort of use as a middle ground between a keyboard and a sampling pad, and that's where I incorporate a lot of like the Ableton triggers and things like that. So yeah,
cool.
it's all very very craft worky.
yeah.
It's
We usually save
techie,
gear
techie.
towards the end, but let's get into it.
I know,
Let's get
we're
into
just-
all the
to
stuff
officially
you guys
lose
are using.
everyone. Yeah.
All right, hey, yeah, good point. All right, let's
No,
bring gear back.
I will gladly dive into
That's-
your SG on the wall. I was like, hell yeah, that's
That's
awesome.
usually, that's why we save it to the end.
Yeah.
Let's take a second to thank our sponsors.
Yeah, let's do that
all right.
before we get rid of everybody talking our nerd talk.
Before we lose everybody, let check out these great products.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, earlier this season we introduced Brian and Emily Klemonic from Enlightenment Event Lighting.
They seemed like wonderful people.
They were, yeah. Yeah, that was a Chuckless episode.
Yeah.
But check out Enlightenment and Vent Lighting. And if you Google them, you'll find their website and everything they do. They've been lighting up all great concerts in Cleveland and festivals.
Yeah, some of the pictures they've got up there look fantastic. Man.
Fantastic.
It's cool as
yeah.
hell.
Mhm. Yeah, well, some of the pictures were taken by some of the great photographers in our area. Tommy Waters, Aaron Bound.
Bound.
What?
Yeah.
No Numbers Photography.
Yep.
Yeah, check out season 1 for our conversation with him. Yeah, we can't forget Evan Lee, great concert photographer from Cleveland as well.
All right. Speaking of photographers, you want to go into a guy that can get your drone photos going?
Yeah, drone photos. Yeah, Russell Jones from Jones Drones Cleveland. Commercial drone services focused on creative solutions. That's Jones Drones Cleveland.
CLE.
CLE.com.
I'm sure they'll find that one really easy.
Yeah.
Jones Drones. That's going to be the new tongue twister.
Yeah.
Drones.
And it's got to have the CLE because apparently there was another Jones Drones, right?
That's right. Yeah.
Arthur City.
So
You
if
can
he's-
also check out season 1 episode with him.
Yeah.
You can check out season 1 episode 9 for our conversation with Listen CLE. If you go to listencle.com, you'll find links to 9 mood-based playlists showcasing music by all Northeast Ohio artists. So they're not genre-based, they're all mood-based. And also at listencle.com, you can find the database for all the Cleveland musicians and performers.
Make
you
your
can get
EPK.
Yeah, you can get yourself in the database too, and companies that need entertainment for events, they've been looking at this database and pulling people from it, getting a lot of people jobs.
Yeah. It's great because it's built by musicians that like know what these venues are looking for. Where a lot of these EPK things, it might be something you overlook, and you're like, oh, we need this many outlets, and we have this many instruments, and make
doubt.
sure it fits with the venues really well.
Cool.
And then we got to
Last
go.
but not least, let's thank Chuck Kaminsky from Basement Trader.
Basement Trader. He's taking the rest of the month off.
Yeah.
That guy.
Well deserved.
Well deserved, yes.
BASSMENT.com. He runs a shop out of his house on Chestnut Street in Paynesville. And he's got 2 great reverb shops, too, that you can check out all that he's got for sale. And basementtrader.com. If you contact him through the website or through the store or whatever, you can find a time to take your instruments to get set up, too.
Yeah.
Very quick turnaround time. He's done all my instruments, new strings, made them sound brand new.
I was going to take stuff to him, but he's not there for the rest of the month, and I want to get some flat wounds on my bass, so I'm
Gonna have to do that one yourself.
I'm doing it myself. I was watching some YouTube videos yesterday. Like, I've done guitar string changes countless times, but I've never done it on bass. So.
You know, I haven't changed my own strings in a while since Chuck Kaminsky, the guy I had before that.
There's no reason to.
Yeah, and for some reason, when I take it to get set up, I break a lot less strings. I haven't broken a string in like 3 years.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's impressive.
longest time of
You
my
have
life.
to be knocking on some wood or something when you say that, though. Like, that's
I don't know if we can give Chuck full credit on that, but but
Maybe
why
my
not?
playing's different, Matt.
It was very informative. I feel like I learned all these great services in,
Yeah,
our,
no.
in our area.
This is a fraction of the great services.
Offered
No
by
doubt.
Yeah.
Cuyahoga Sound.
Friends of Cuyahoga Sound.
Absolutely. All right, are we back? And we're back.
We're back.
Are we going to go into gear talk already?
Let's save it.
Let's save it.
Well, actually, it might be a quick one because we just got 2 people today.
Well, I had maybe a question that'll lead us into it. You were talking about having those samples going and then just raising the level. So you have in-ears going for that? So you're keeping track of everything? Or
We don't have in-ears right now. That's something that we've been talking about as far as like future development. Right now, it's not necessary because we can keep. I mean, as far as like just raising levels, it's samples that are all part of like one same loop, and it's
Okay.
more like adjusting percussion and like bringing in different percussion elements at certain times.
okay.
So more back into that idea of when to play something and when not to play something, rather than like
All right.
having like samples of like different time signatures, like
Right.
over,
That's,
yeah, like
what
that
I
was.
that's what I
yeah.
was imagining there. I'm like, you got to have something going on here to be able to keep that up and not have it just fall apart.
We're not quite so mathy yet, but yeah, no, it is interesting though on the gear front that a lot of a lot of I think the interest I've had in the last couple of years, also by necessity of what we do, is a lot of really plugins and third party like computer software sound. So in that way, it's I'm very like I have a Stratocaster that I love, and a great 12 string and things like that. But I feel like that has sort of been a lot of the focus of my gear nerdiness in the last 2 years or so. But yeah, I don't know if you guys ever like really delved into that sort of
Kind of scared too.
digital space. You might not come
I've
back.
got
I
enough
don't know.
gas going on for all the new stuff that comes out, and guitar
Yeah.
and drums and bass. Like, I'm afraid
know.
to dip my toe in there because like you just go all in and then you're broke.
Yeah, you gotta be creative with
I
your.
just now got my like first computer and recording software, and I haven't opened it yet.
Well, yeah, when you do, there's
'Cause I know I'm
there's
gonna.
a whole world of
I know it's gonna be
toys.
like 3 weeks that I'm gonna have to
Oh,
take
yeah.
my focus off anything else that's important. Cause
Oh, yeah.
I'm gonna want to get like fluent real quick, and I've been dying to put my own music out for so long. I've only played in bands my whole life, but got so many ideas over the years. I'm 36 now, and super excited.
Is this
for
a solo project that you're gonna be sort of?
I don't know.
Engaging? Okay.
Probably it will have other people.
Okay.
But they'll be like it'll be my music.
Cool.
Yeah.
Congrats.
Thanks.
That's awesome. Good luck.
What do you
Thank
name the
you.
project?
I don't know, man.
Cuyahoga Sound?
No, it depends what direction it goes into. I don't know if it's gonna be like jammy, if it's gonna be reggae, if it's gonna be indie rock, if it's gonna be acoustic, if it's gonna be funk. There's so many different things I love to play, and I don't know how to make it all work together.
Yeah. Well, so what are your guys like? You get to take one guitar, drum piece, etc. out of the old like burning house, hypothetical. You can only grab one thing. What are you grabbing?
For my own use, it'd be this Blue Sparkle drum set behind me. That's my gigging kit.
Nice.
So it's been a workhorse. Everything is made to just withstand a bomb dropping on it, or hanging out in the back of a trailer.
Like any sensible drummer. That's the
That's
important
yeah,
thing.
lightweight and durable. So Yamaha's where it's at for me. They actually their older hardware was made in a motorcycle factory, so it was like built to higher standards. The new stuff strips out.
Get your motor running.
But
I think I would grab my pedal case.
yeah,
There you go.
Yeah, because that's not as replaceable
Yeah.
as a new amp or a new guitar, but and a lot more money in that than my amp and guitar too. There's
Yeah.
probably I just stripped it down a little, so there's only 7 pedals on it right now, but there was 10. I started playing guitar with a well-known reggae guy, and I stripped it down a little bit, like with some things I don't need to, like really map out the sound a little better.
the less is more approach. Yeah.
Yeah, well, it's still 7. I could strip it down more.
Yeah.
Like, I don't.
Yeah, you're
I
right.
don't really need the chorus pedal except for like this one part in 2 of the verses. Like I could take that off too. But
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, so you're a prime candidate for the digital plug-in sort of
yeah, I know.
overdosing, because that's the same concept, like manipulation of sound rather than instrument per se. Although that's really the
The second
beat.
thing, if it would either be that or the acoustic guitar, because the acoustic guitar is just, pure.
Yeah, if it wasn't for my own use, I've got an acoustic guitar that was my grandpa's upstairs. So, like, if I have to save one instrument, I'm saving that. But if I have to save one to play for myself, it'd be the drums. Yeah.
good answer.
What
How about you
guys?
guys? Yeah.
I think it just has to be the laptop now, just out of sheer time. But I'll go something a little more old school. Let me think. I feel bad because I don't really play it anymore, just given our live setup. But I do have a 1970 or so Mesa Boogie amp that I played in bands for years and years and years and years that my father handed down to me. So while I have not played it for a while, I still have probably the sentimental attachment to that. And as the very classic, you could crank it a zillion decibels and it's going to sound warm and, like wrapping up in a blanket. It's awesome.
And then I guess mine would probably be my just jazz master bass. It's been my instrument for 10 plus years.
But both two things we do not use
I know,
live.
exactly.
Not at all. I was gonna say, yeah. But still,
How about a piece of equipment you regret selling
don't know if I ever really have. I've given a
or given away
Let's see.
Fender.
or broken?
Can I say my my guitar that my Alvarez guitar that got stolen?
Yeah.
Yeah, we did have equipment stolen
That
out of my
sucks.
car, and it was probably my fault because I don't think the door was locked. So yeah,
Sounds
I'm-
like the
I'm-
thief's fault.
I think
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. It's not my fault. That was bad. We lost a lot of equipment that year. That was in college. We had that and a flood in the basement that
Oh man.
that
Took
took a
yeah.
toll on a couple pedals and sort of screwed up my Fender a little bit.
That was kind of like 1 year in college. We probably had like near $2,000 plus of damage.
That one
done.
did suck. Yeah, I think it was my 21st birthday, so of course we're like partying upstairs, and like I think you just come like, yeah, the basement's like in 3 feet of water. I'm like, oh shit. Like, it's too far gone now.
Yeah, we were about 2 feet of water too late.
Yeah, we were not prompt.
You guys go to college together?
We did. We went to OU,
Hi, oh yeah.
Bobcats. Yeah. Have you guys ever spent much time in Athens?
I went down to my buddy went to Hocking College down there.
Oh,
Our
okay.
college,
In
yeah.
Nelsonville, yeah.
Yeah,
There you
yeah.
go.
We went down there for visiting him and just made a bunch of shenanigans happen.
As you should.
It's really hard not to get in shenanigans if there's not much else to do.
Right.
It's mainly shenanigans.
Yeah. It's an awesome area though, and a great little arts and music scene for a 5-block town essentially.
Yeah,
It
it
really
is.
is,
Yeah.
I only went one time in the mid 2000s, like 2007 maybe. It's Jackie O's Brewery. They had music in the main room.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That would have been an early Jackie O's.
Yeah, really early Jackie
endeavor. Yeah,
O's.
'cause I think they were probably pretty new then.
Yeah, I remember that I was so surprised to see it. Like when I moved back up to Cleveland, I was in Columbus at that time. When I moved back up to Cleveland, like years later, I was like starting to see it in stores. Man, I remember that place. Cool, good for them. And they're still around, still really popular.
Oh yeah.
Like, distributing everywhere. They're probably out of state by now, huh?
They're quite stingy. So my wife and I are both very big Jackie O's fans, and we were in Indiana. I was there for 4 years and change. She came a little later, but I don't. Now I'm forgetting. I think they had it toward the end, but now I actually just don't quite remember. They didn't for a while though, if at all. So they're a little tight-fisted about where they take their beer, but they have a product people want, so that you can do that.
Yeah. Evan, you got a piece of gear that you got rid of that?
I mean, I had some stuff stolen in college too. I've had blocked that out of my memory.
Don't want to go back
Bring
there.
that back
just
up.
got it back.
Digging up
Yeah,
bones,
I
man.
had my keyboard and my Flying V guitar stolen,
Oh, that's
and my sister's acoustic guitar stolen. Some mics, a bag of cables, out of the basement of a house I was living in.
that really sucks.
Yeah. I had bought a Les Paul with my student loan money because I had never had one, and like that's what I was playing rock with.
Yeah.
That one yonder?
No, that one's mine.
Okay.
No, this is
This is great podcasting. I'm pointing at
2009 or
things that aren't.
something.
Yeah.
For the cameras.
mm-hmm.
It's
Yeah,
over
yeah,
there.
There's actually 2 of them because that other one is a Les Paul. The SG, that's before they were named SGs.
Oh.
It's a Les Paul.
Wow,
Wow, I didn't even know
Double
that was.
cutaway Les Paul.
Yeah, those
I
are
didn't,
actually.
I didn't know that
It's actually
history.
2 Les Pauls right there.
Gibson.
I think
Les Paul was not happy with that shape. Les Paul, the man, was not happy with that shape.
With
He
the
said-
SG shape?
Yeah, he said, "I don't want my name on that." So
it is a bit devilish,
Yeah.
with the horns. Yeah, I could see it, but no, I love it. That's probably my favorite guitar I've never owned. I would say
An SG?
offhand, yeah.
my
Yeah.
piece of gear that I got rid of. Actually, I have 2 that I got rid of. But one of them that was supposed to be the replacement for it, and it's very cool, but it's not quite the same. I had a '64 SG that was just awesome, and I sold it because I got offered way too much money for it, and then I've been trying to get it back since. So then I bought that one, and that's an earlier one. It's got a skinnier neck. It's just not quite right for me. And
So
then
this is a personal motivation question. Like
Yeah.
you've
and
done
then
it.
I had a '64 Vox AC30.
Oh.
Also, that was killer and got offered way too much money. And like when we were talking about my house before the podcast started, like it's not worth that much money. And then I got rid of it, and I'm like, damn it, I wish I
Still
had
wasn't
that thing.
worth that much money.
It still was not worth that
What
much.
do you got
money,
against
but-
1964? That was like the
yeah.
common theme. here.
Yeah, I loved both of them. So I'm on the lookout to get things back.
I
So
don't think you have anything against it. People have something for it that they're willing to
To just
throw more
shell out
money.
money, I guess.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah.
But they were both.
Beatlemaniacs.
That's my two favorites. Were both from the same year.
My condolences. That's heartbreaking.
So if
That was a
anybody
sad
has a
conversation.
64 SG out there,
Check your pawn shops.
or a 64 Vox AC30, like hit us up. Yeah. I'll sell some other stuff that I'll regret later to get that stuff back.
It's a cycle.
Yeah,
Just
it is.
It's like a losing gambler's mentality, like just trying to get back to even. Like
Absolutely.
you'll just do it and just keep digging a bigger hole. Like,
1,000%.
yep.
Well, I guess we are into gear now, so we might as well just dive in.
Yeah, let's talk about the gear that you guys perform with. Like, what's the setup like when you perform? Because I'm still trying to picture it in my head.
Sure.
One of your guys' shows.
Yeah, so I think I might have. I forget how much I described it, but yeah. So I use a Yamaha, old Yamaha that I use as a MIDI digital piano, and then I use an MPK. I forget the exact brand, and I use that as a sampler, which has mixing board, mixers, has something like a drum sample pad, also has its own set of keys, and then I use Ableton and Logic as far as the software, and that's really the meat of the sound. That's a lot of organ sounds, a lot of pianos, a lot of one of my favorite. I won't go crazy into all the plug-in patches we have, but one of my favorites that we use degenerately usually is the dual harmonizer 910, which I don't know if you guys are David Bowie fans or not, but he famously used it on Low for the drum sound, which if you're a fan of the album Low, and you would probably recognize that the drums sound a certain way. That's what makes it sound that way.
It just gives everything that like perfect chorus, but like super crisp and super quick.
It double tracks
Snap.
slightly off kilter, basically tunings of instruments, so it sounds like askew just so in a very peculiar way. But yeah, that's one of many. I'll plug for the curious software head, but.
Yeah, and then as far as my gear, I have Ableton running on my laptop, and then I have a Novation keyboard, 42 keys, and then basically a sample pad that I also use for both samples and instrument effects. And then
We do use some guitars. I have a Strat.
as far as I have like an Ibanez mandolin and then a Galveston lap steel. I think that's my live instruments.
We got an Ebo,
An
into the equation recently, which has been a lot of fun. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're running two laptops live?
Just one.
Just one? Okay.
Yeah,
One
so
each.
both
Yeah.
Okay.
both instruments through the same laptop.
Okay. And do they sync to each other, or is it?
Ours
No.
do not. No.
Okay.
No.
Yeah. We talked about doing that, but as far as like it is right now and what we're doing live, it's not necessary because as far as what we're playing, it's a little different than electronic music in the sense that we're kind of playing live off of each other.
Yeah, it is still live playing. There's no real essential backing track or anything like that beyond some percussion loops and things like that. But no, we haven't gone full board into singularity like that. We still have
Yeah. You guys are still calling the shots.
authority over our instruments. They won't take over quite yet.
Yeah.
I think that might push it over the edge. Yeah.
Yeah, my Ableton experience was like I was just dipping my toe into it, but it was like I was using it for lighting cues and changing instruments for everybody while I was on the drums. I could hit the sample pad and
Oh yeah,
Oh, yeah.
You can really
With
do a lot
Moon-
of
with Moon
wild,
Man.
with
wild
Moon
shit.
Man, yeah.
Man, yeah.
Yeah, Moon Man. It was an MTV tribute. We had TVs that played the music video back then and stuff. So like, in that one, I was following the machine. That's actually why the band ended up falling apart. Was like, I built this whole thing and it was very cool to watch, but it was boring as hell to drum on.
Yeah.
You know, because like I didn't even hear the band members. I just had like the original track because I had to make sure we were on time with the video and the light syncs and everything.
Wow, that sounds brutal for a drummer. I never know how you guys do it.
Yeah, it was that was a rough one. So like it was actually picking up. I told the rest of the members, I'm like, hey, this isn't for me, but like find another drummer, keep it going. And they decided not to.
So you thought of the project, you started the project, you recruited everybody, and then
I burned it down.
said no.
That is 100% what I did.
Wow, that's where you need to you have to find some scrappy drummer to take under your wing and just.
I was hoping it would keep going because it was actually picking up some steam, and it was a cool show to watch. You know,
Yeah.
like because all the lighting cues, we had this great light setup, and it was all running through Ableton where everything was synced up to the show. Like you know, the one I always talk about was like we did like Pour Some Sugar on Me, and just like being able to go like red light, yellow light, green light, go, and it would go through red, yellow, green, and
yeah.
then flash strobes on the crowd, and it was cool stuff to do.
Nice.
But like. I literally didn't hear the other musicians. Like,
Yeah.
I was just playing
Like-
in my own world over here. Like, all right, he needs a guitar patch change right now, and then like every one of those songs now is the ones that fade out that didn't have a distinct end. I had a spot where our distinct end was, and at the end of them now I just hear beep boop 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 beep boop boop boop, and then done. Like. It's not there, but I hear it on every song that we covered there, and like it ruined
Gives
those
you
songs
nightmares.
for me. Yeah, it was.
It ruined Pour Some Sugar on me forever. I could never hear that song innocently now.
Yeah, you get the beep boop boop boops. Yep.
But yes, the curious watchers, listeners, will have to come see us in the coming weeks if you
absolutely.
want
Just
to
about to
see
ask
the
you.
software firsthand.
So yeah, what's coming out? What's in store for this summer, this fall, this year?
So when does this drop?
When you want it to drop.
Yeah, we'll have
how
that
soon
conversation.
can you make it drop? We have a show Friday.
We have a
I
show
guess.
Friday.
Ah.
So
Very
Well, you
soon.
can put some
What's-
posts up
you
beforehand.
mean-
But
yeah,
You mean in 2 days?
in 2 days.
Oh,
Yeah, so
okay.
probably.
The podcast would be out Sunday.
Okay.
Okay, cool.
So
well,
if you want to time travel, we'll be playing. We will have played at Coda.
That was a great show, guys.
Yeah.
It was kind of wild when Sam did that thing.
Yeah. Now, when we covered Pour Some Sugar on Me, we are also playing, I believe, I don't know if I should, well, I think we're playing, at the Garage Shop in August. It's some details getting ironed out. We can deal with any flack from the Garage Shop if it doesn't come to pass. But no, we've played there a couple times and always love them.
Tentatively, I think August 11th.
Tentatively, yes, tentatively. And then we are playing the Waterloo Arts Fest for sure, Saturday, August 27th, I think.
Yeah.
Oh, glad they're
no.
still doing that one.
Yeah,
That's a
we
good one.
did it many moons ago.
Big Suite, yeah.
With the Big Suite. So we will be there, certainly. I forget if they've established it. I don't think they've set the times yet, but we will be posting on Instagram,
Come for the
Facebook.
whole thing, and then
Yeah.
stay
All
for
that.
us especially.
Yep. We have all the usual socials and stuff like that. So Regas-McDonald. Yep. We will keep you in the loop. But yeah. And then after that, we'll probably I don't know, maybe lay low for a little. We got a couple new songs. We were talking about maybe recording at least one of
Yeah.
them at some point. Sort of like a
Hopefully
little
have
single,
a single coming out maybe by the end of the year, maybe early next year, and then
something like that, and keep writing, keep tinkering. Yeah.
Cool.
What's the name of the single off that last album? For people to check out.
For the Vein and Leopard, was the single off. Hall of Fame Cities was our last album, and Toward Void and Vistas before that. So, all on Apple, Spotify, etc., etc. For the Vein and Leopard was the single, right?
yeah, Leopard Lepered.
Yes, like one with leprosy, not a cat. It's first song on the record. put it out a little before. Start with the lead off track. If you're curious,
Cool.
any listener.
They're on all the same streamers we are. So once you're done listening to this, hop
Hop right
over,
over.
Yeah.
check out what we've been discussing. It's really hard to describe, so you've got to listen.
We should really put together a playlist with all the artists that we've had on here.
We should. Well,
Yeah.
all right.
Yay, ideas.
That was a great idea.
Yeah.
That was off the cuff.
Yeah. All right.
Well, yeah.
Good
Well, thank you
eye-
guys
I
so
like
much.
that.
Yeah.
Thank you guys so much for having us. This has been a lot of fun. We
You're welcome.
appreciate
Yeah,
it.
absolutely.
Not off the hook yet, though.
No, no.
Oh no,
That's-
I don't know if that was the sign off, but no, I still appreciate it. And
You're welcome. You
Yeah.
listen to any of the episodes?
so I checked you guys out a little bit. I think Dave Ziggy. I know him as Ziggy. Is it Dave
Yes.
DK? I never said his last name. Dika?
Dikra. Or Dika.
Dika?
Zig at the Gig is what we call
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
So
you guys were on his.
we were on
show,
his.
yeah.
That might have been. I forget how you guys came on my radar, but I think he was talking about you, and thus I listened to that episode. And I saw you guys. I have not listened to it yet because I think it was relatively recent. But you guys had the Ohio Weather Band on.
Yeah.
I saw.
yeah.
I was
Yeah, we
looking
just-
at the feed today. I'm like, I remember those guys because I'm from Canton.
Okay.
So yeah, we played some shows back in the day, and
Nice.
or at least I feel like we played at least maybe a show with them.
Did we? Was it like Ribs Burn Off maybe or?
That sounds very Canton. I definitely saw them at the Oracle and at like a mutual like Dan's like one of his parties or something.
Oh, is the article still going on?
They moved location, but I think their location now is even better. It's a
Yeah.
cool
Oh,
spot.
okay, cool.
It's not
Is it
crammed
in a
the
basement?
No.
That was the one that we played all the time, and I did like a little solo thing at the new one. The new one's very cool. If you ever come down to Canton, it's unfortunately
I was
the
there
only.
once for Reliant K.
Oh.
Yeah, I think it's the only venue really in town though now, or at least there used to be that and Buzzbin. but
Buzzbin's
Buzzbin
closed,
just
yeah.
closed its doors, which is a bit sad. But anyway, yeah. So I've checked out some of the episodes, and I'm excited to listen to that one because I like those guys.
Great,
yeah.
yeah.
We're cool.
Cool. Well, at the end of every episode, we ask all our guests to recommend a movie or series or YouTube channel for everyone
Okay.
to watch.
Like a new movie.
Whatever you
Yeah,
like.
could be whenever.
Give me a second. I don't want to butcher this. Matt, do you have anything ready to roll?
Oh man. I'll plug it because I saw it yesterday. The new Elvis movie actually like refreshing biopic. It definitely feels a little bit like you get caught up in like the whirlwind that was his career. It's definitely has like you know what you're getting because it's an Elvis biopic, but it's a lot more intense and the music's like they do a lot of cool things where they revamp the music and like do remixes of the stuff and like so there's like I think just for that it's kind of worth watching. They do some stuff that like recontextualizes like the rhythms that like it's actually like really cool. At one point they're like talking about how like Elvis like it's on the radio and everyone's getting scandalized because Elvis is using black rhythms and like to portray it they switch from like the Elvis song and then they just like infuse a trap beat under it to like get like that like concept of like oh this is what it'd be like listening to it if you're like you're in the 50s like
It's for the kids.
yeah.
Nice.
Who plays Elvis in that?
Oh, his name is Austin. I can't remember his last name. It's
Oh,
some
okay.
no name. The only big name is like Tom Hanks. He plays
Who?
It's the Colonel, right?
plays the Colonel, yeah. Which weird role for him. But it's a fun movie, yeah. So I'd say go see the new Elvis.
All right.
What did I like? I'm trying to think of things in the last year. I've seen probably more new shows than movies. I really liked nothing to do with music, but I really liked the show Winning Time about the Magic Johnson Lakers.
Okay.
I have to watch that stuff.
It's really fun. Yes, very big sports fans. We are actually too. I don't really like the Lakers at all, but I will say it is a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And Magic Johnson could probably use my endorsement. So yeah, Winning Time. I thought that was just a ton of fun. That's like the only way I can really describe it. Just if you want to watch a show about a really fun era of the NBA.
Also,
very
Better
good.
Call Saul. I recently got back onto
I know,
track.
I still
with
need to
it,
watch
and
the
it's-
new one. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm still on season 1 of that.
Same.
Oh, man.
Slowly, like I love it, but like I don't know, I always get off track.
Yeah, I hadn't caught up for like a couple seasons, and then I just like binged them on Netflix the other day and caught back up. And this last, like, they're definitely like trying to run to Breaking Bad for like more like perfect series finale. Like you can tell that they're trying to like
Best New Mexico noir show.
exactly.
There can only be one.
Vince Gilligan just trying to out-cop himself.
Yep. I'll stick with that pick. I need to watch Better Call Saul though. That one's very much like next on the list.
All right, Regas-McDonald, thanks for coming in.
Thanks for
Thank you
having
guys
us.
again so much for having us.
Cool.
It's been
Absolutely.
fun.
Cool. And to everyone listening, they reached out to us for to be on the podcast, and so can you.
We did.
Yeah.
Please, we find most of our guests or invite them on, but with these guys, we've never met them until they came down to the basement right before we recorded this, and I would love more experiences like that. So please get a hold of us through Facebook, Instagram, or oh wait, we don't. We have an Instagram, but I don't think we've ever posted on
We're going to take some pictures as soon as we get off these
that's right.
microphones
We
because
always
we
forget.
always forget.
I always forget to
hot
say.
And they are
Pictures.
great guys in person.
We love meeting our victims for the first time in the basement.
Real soundproof down here.
All right, well, for Cuyahoga Sound Podcast, I'm Evan Stone.
And I'm Chuck Schilling. Peace.